Hi there, future teacher. Welcome to your study guide for the PCT Special Education Pre-K through 8 exam, Module 2, Test 012. This is a Pennsylvania-specific certification exam, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through the critical knowledge you need for Subarea I, Inclusive Learning Environments. We'll cover developmentally appropriate practice, how to set up effective early childhood classrooms, PBIS and positive behavior support for young children, augmentative and alternative communication, and early childhood transitions. Let's get into it. Quick note before we begin. We put together a free study guide that goes along with this video. It covers everything in this video in a printable PDF format with key terms, comparison tables, AAC systems overview, PBIS tier descriptions, and note space. Grab your free copy from the link in the description below. This video is presented by teacherpreps.com. Our platform includes a complete study guide for every competency on both PCT Module 1 and Module 2, full-length time practice tests that mirror the real exam format, vocabulary exercises, and more. It's free to get started. All right, that was our plug. Grab your pen and paper, and let's begin. Let's start with what you're walking into on test day. The PCT Special Education Pre-K through 8 Module 2 has 41 multiple-choice questions. You'll have 60 minutes of testing time. The passing score is 220 on the PCT scale. The registration fee is $50. This exam is administered by Pearson exclusively for Pennsylvania teacher certification. Module 2 focuses entirely on how you actually teach and support students with disabilities from birth through grade 8. The Module 2 exam is divided into 2 content subareas, each worth 50%. Subarea I is Inclusive Learning Environments, covering 3 competencies: planning and managing learning environments, fostering communication and social skills, and supporting transitions and independent living. Subarea II is Delivery of Specially Designed Instruction, covering reading foundations, literacy instruction, and content area instruction for students with disabilities. In this video, we're deep diving into Subarea I, which is half your entire Module 2 score. Let's begin with Subarea I, Inclusive Learning Environments. This subarea covers 3 competencies. Competency 0007 addresses planning, managing, and modifying learning environments, including developmentally appropriate practice and PBIS for young children. Competency 0008 covers fostering communication and social skills, including AAC systems and PECS. And Competency 0009 covers independent living skills and transitions, especially the critical Part C to Part B transition at age 3. Together, these 3 competencies account for 50% of your Module 2 exam, roughly 20 to 21 questions. This is the heart of what early childhood special educators do every day. Developmentally Appropriate Practice, DAP, is the framework developed by NAEYC, the National Association for the Education of Young Children. DAP means basing all decisions about curriculum, instruction, and environment on 3 things: what is known about child development, what is known about each individual child, and what is known about the cultural and social context. For students with disabilities, DAP does not lower expectations. It means providing access to meaningful, age-appropriate experiences with individualized supports. Effective early childhood classrooms for students with disabilities include learning centers that allow student choice and active engagement, a dramatic play area, a block center, a sensory table, a literacy corner. Visual supports are essential for young children with disabilities. Visual schedules show the daily routine using pictures, objects, or words depending on the child's communication level. First, then boards show what comes now and what comes next. Transition warnings, a 2-minute alert before a change, reduce the anxiety and behavioral challenges that often accompany activity transitions. PBIS, Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, is a multi-tier framework for preventing problem behavior and teaching appropriate behavior. For young children, Tier 1 means high-quality universal classroom practices, predictable routines, clear expectations stated positively, specific praise for appropriate behavior, and a well-organized physical environment. Tier 2 adds targeted supports for children whose behavior does not respond to Tier 1. Check-in, check-out systems, small group social skills instruction, increased visual supports, and more frequent reinforcement. Tier 3 provides intensive individualized behavior support. This includes a functional behavior assessment, or FBA, and a behavior intervention plan, or BIP. The FBA identifies the function of the behavior. Is the child getting something they want? Attention, a preferred item, sensory stimulation, or escaping something they don't want? The 4 functions are attention, escape, access, and sensory. The BIP uses this information to teach a replacement behavior that serves the same function. Behavior-specific praise, naming exactly what the child did correctly, is the single most evidence-based Tier 1 strategy for young children with disabilities. Competency 0008 covers communication and social skills. Many young children with disabilities have significant communication needs. Prelinguistic communication, eye contact, joint attention, gestures, and vocalizations, develops before words and is the foundation for language. Children who are not yet using words need augmentative and alternative communication systems, or AAC. Low-tech AAC includes picture boards, communication books, and PECS, the Picture Exchange Communication System. PECS is a 6-phase system that teaches children to initiate communication by exchanging a picture for a desired item, starting with simple exchanges and building toward making comments and using sentence strips. High-tech AAC includes speech-generating devices and tablet apps like PreK. IDEA requires that including AAC, be considered for every student in the IEP process. Social skills for young children are best taught through play. The developmental stages of play progress from solitary play to parallel play where children play near but not with each other, to associative play where children interact but without organized goals, to cooperative play where children take on roles and work toward a shared goal. Peer-mediated interventions, teaching typically developing peers to support children with disabilities during play, are highly effective for building social skills. Competency 0009 covers transitions and independent living. For early childhood special educators, the most important transition to know is the Part C to Part B transition at age 3. IDEA requires that a transition conference be held at least 90 days before the child's 3rd birthday. The Part C service coordinator must initiate the referral to the local education agency. The LEA must complete the evaluation and hold an IEP meeting before the child's 3rd birthday to ensure no gap in services. For preschool to kindergarten transition, best practices include joint visits to the kindergarten classroom, sharing assessment information between the early childhood team and the kindergarten teacher, and a fade-in schedule to help the child adjust gradually. Adaptive and self-help skills, including toileting, dressing, feeding, and personal hygiene, are critical areas for early childhood special educators. Task analysis breaks these complex skills into small, teachable steps. Forward chaining teaches the steps from the beginning. Backward chaining teaches the last step first, building from success at the end of the chain. The foundation for self-determination begins in early childhood with choice-making, problem-solving, and self-advocacy skills embedded into daily routines. Let's try a practice question for Subarea I. A special education teacher working in a preschool classroom observes that a 4-year-old student with autism spectrum disorder frequently throws materials during small group activities. The behavior has increased over the past 2 weeks despite consistent Tier 1 classroom strategies. The teacher notices that throwing always occurs right before the student is asked to do a fine motor task. Which of the following is the most appropriate next step? Option A. Move the student to a self-contained classroom where fine motor activities can be avoided. Option B. Implement a social story about throwing and review it each morning. Option C. Conduct a functional behavior assessment to identify the function of the throwing behavior and develop a behavior intervention plan. Option D. Increase the difficulty of fine motor tasks to build the student's tolerance for challenging activities. The correct answer is C. Conduct a functional behavior assessment to identify the function of the throwing behavior and develop a behavior intervention plan. The pattern described, throwing consistently before fine motor tasks, strongly suggests the behavior functions as escape. The FBA will confirm this hypothesis and guide the BIP to teach a replacement behavior. For example, teaching the student to request a break or signal that the task is too hard. Option A is incorrect. Removing the student from the least restrictive environment is not appropriate before a function-based intervention has been attempted. Option B is incorrect. Social stories address social understanding, not escape-motivated behavior. They would not be effective here. Option D is incorrect. Increasing difficulty would likely escalate the behavior by making the aversive task even more aversive. Always match the intervention to the function of the behavior. Great work covering Subarea I of the PCT Module 2. You now have a solid foundation in inclusive learning environments for early childhood. But here's the reality. Subarea I is only 50% of your Module 2 exam. You still need to master Subarea II, delivery of specially designed instruction, which covers the foundations of reading, phonological awareness, systematic phonics, decodable text, and structured literacy approaches for students with dyslexia. It also covers literacy instruction including interactive read aloud, writing development stages from scribbling to conventional writing, and the Tier 1, 2, and 3 vocabulary model. And it covers content area SDI, the concrete representational abstract approach for math, differentiated instruction, accommodations versus modifications, and assistive technology across content areas. Without Subarea II, you're walking into test day missing half the content. The complete study guide covering all 6 Module 2 competencies, plus Module 1 prep and full-length time practice tests, is available right now at teacherpreps.com. Link in the description. Good luck, future teacher.